Have you ever truly examined the world around you? Not through the lens of optimism or the sanitized narratives we've been fed, but with clear, unflinching eyes? What you'll see is a world defined by wars, pandemics, poverty, cruelty, and endless pain. These aren't random challenges meant to make us stronger, they are the defining characteristics of this realm. Welcome to hell. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. The truth isn't meant to comfort, it's meant to wake you up. The earth is not a testing ground. It is not a preparatory stage for something better. This is not a playground, and it is certainly not a paradise. What we are living in every single day is a nightmare masquerading as life. But it doesn't have to be this way. The first step to breaking free is understanding the mechanisms of this prison. Consider the psychological manipulation embedded in our daily lives. From the moment we're born, we're conditioned to accept the world as it is. Schools teach obedience, not critical thinking. Religion often reinforces guilt and fear, conditioning us to accept suffering as divine will. Media bombards us with distractions, keeping us focused on trivialities while suppressing meaningful discourse. These aren't random elements, they're deliberate tools to keep us asleep, unaware of the deeper truth. Emotional manipulation is another key tool. Fear, guilt, and shame are exploited to keep us compliant. Governments use fear to control populations, fear of war, poverty, or the other. Religions use guilt and shame to make us feel inherently flawed, convincing us we need salvation. Social systems enforce conformity through peer pressure. Every part of our lives is designed to keep us emotionally entangled in the nightmare, preventing us from waking up. The nightmare isn't just individual, it's collective. Every war, economic crisis, and social conflict feeds into it. The system creates artificial divisions, nations, races, religions, ideologies, to keep humanity fighting among itself. While people are busy hating each other, they're not questioning the system that keeps them all enslaved. This division isn't accidental, it's engineered. Divide and conquer isn't just a military strategy, it's the foundation of the prison. Even the natural world plays a role. Disasters like earthquakes, hurricanes, and pandemics remind us of our fragility, reinforcing fear and helplessness. But these events also serve a deeper purpose. They keep humanity focused on survival, too preoccupied with immediate threats to look beyond them. The system ensures we're always putting out fires, never questioning why the fires keep starting. One of the most insidious aspects of this collective nightmare is how it perpetuates itself. People who've bought into the illusion become its enforcers. Parents teach their children to follow the same rules they were taught. Teachers prepare students to fit into the same broken systems. Leaders promise change but maintain the status quo. The nightmare doesn't just persist, it spreads, generation after generation, because the people trapped in it become its architects. Historically, those who've tried to expose the nightmare have been silenced. Philosophers like Socrates, mystics like Rumi, and revolutionaries like Spartacus all pointed to the deeper truth that something is fundamentally wrong with the world. And how were they treated? Socrates was executed. Rumi was marginalized. Spartacus was crucified. The system doesn't just resist dissent, it punishes those who dare to wake others up. Time is another weapon in this system. It's not your friend, it's your tormentor. From the moment you're born, you're on a clock. Every second brings you closer to death, and along the way, time ensures you watch everything you love decay. It robs you of youth, health, and hope. Time doesn't heal, it corrodes. Yet, people cling to the idea that this world is a gift, that suffering is redemptive. Look at history, millions enslaved, butchered, silenced. Billions struggle daily just to survive. If this is God's plan, it's a sadist's playbook. Modern technology doesn't change this. Smartphones and space exploration mean little when 25,000 people die daily from hunger, families are torn apart by war, and the wealthiest 1% hoard resources while the rest fight over scraps. This isn't progress, it's hell with a shiny new coat of paint. Humanity's fall isn't a metaphor. It's a calculated move in a cosmic game of control. Ancient narratives across cultures describe humanity being cast down by a tyrannical force, imprisoned in a material cage. The biblical story of Adam and Eve, for example, has been misinterpreted for centuries. The so-called original sin wasn't about moral failure, it was about humanity being deceived and bound to a corrupt existence. This fall marked the beginning of our enslavement to suffering and ignorance. In Gnosticism, the fall is tied to the creation of this world by the demiurge, who fashioned the material universe as a trap. The Gnostics called it a prison, not a flawed creation. Hinduism's concept of Maya, an illusion blinding us to true reality, echoes this sentiment. The material world isn't our home, it's a construct designed to distract and control us. Even outside religion, myths like Prometheus and the Anunnaki depict humanity being manipulated and enslaved. These stories aren't isolated, they're threads in a larger tapestry telling us one thing: we are prisoners of a system we didn't create but are forced to endure. This fall manifests in our daily lives. From birth, we're dependent on others, and as we grow, we become slaves to systems dictating how we live. Education isn't about enlightenment, it's about conformity. Work isn't about fulfillment, it's about survival. Relationships are shaped by societal pressures. The fall isn't a historical event, it's a condition of existence perpetuated through every aspect of our lives. Suffering is portrayed as a teacher, but what kind of lesson requires endless pain? Natural disasters, diseases, and violence aren't aberrations, they're constants. The system thrives on suffering, and the idea that this is part of a divine plan is the ultimate gaslight. Historically, attempts to rise above this condition have been met with brutal opposition. Revolutions are crushed, innovators silenced, and visionaries labeled heretics. Breaking free threatens the system, so the powers that be, whether spiritual, metaphysical, or societal, reinforce the status quo. The fall isn't just history, it's an ongoing reality. Earth isn't just flawed, it's a spiritual prison. Esoteric teachings describe our reality as a system designed to trap souls. The cycle of birth and death, or samsara, isn't a journey, it's a trap. Souls are forced to reincarnate, their memories erased, facing new suffering each time. This isn't progress, it's entrapment. The architects of this prison include the demiurge and its minions, the archons, who thrive on human suffering and ignorance. Organized religion, politics, economics, education, and culture are tools of control. Religion often demands obedience, conditioning people to accept suffering as divine. Governments create laws to control, economies exploit, education systems teach conformity, and media distracts from meaningful discourse. These systems don't serve humanity, they serve the prison. Human suffering generates energy harvested by the forces running the system. Wars, famines, and violence feed this energy. The more you suffer, the more you feed the system. Most people spend their lives working jobs they hate, bombarded with propaganda to consume and conform. This isn't living, it's existing. Reincarnation is often seen as a second chance, but in this context, it's a cycle of captivity. Souls are recycled through lifetimes, their memories erased, forcing them to repeat suffering. Karma, tied to reincarnation, justifies inequality and traps people in guilt. The promise of spiritual advancement is a mirage, most live and die without breaking free. This world is a collective nightmare, a shared hallucination designed to trap us. The illusion is so complete that most don't realize they're in it. From birth, we're conditioned to accept the world as it is. Schools teach obedience, religion reinforces guilt, and media distracts from reality. Fear, guilt, and shame are exploited to keep us compliant. The nightmare is collective. Wars, economic crises, and social conflicts feed into it. The system creates artificial divisions to keep humanity fighting among itself. Natural disasters remind us of our fragility, keeping us focused on survival rather than questioning the system. Those who try to expose the nightmare are silenced. Philosophers, mystics, and revolutionaries who speak out are labeled heretics or executed. The system relies on ignorance. Awareness is dangerous. Time is a tool of control. From ancient civilizations to the Industrial Revolution, time has been weaponized to structure society and maximize productivity. It's ingrained in our minds, creating anxiety, guilt, and regret. Time amplifies suffering, ensuring loss is permanent and joy is fleeting. Modern physics tells us time isn't linear, but the system needs us to believe in the ticking clock to keep us controlled. Suffering is a resource, deliberately harvested to feed the system. Wars, poverty, and crises generate energy extracted by the forces controlling this prison. The more you suffer, the more energy they gain. But you don't have to accept this. The first step to breaking free is awareness. Recognize the system for what it is, a prison. Question the narratives, challenge the systems, and seek truth. The earth is not a testing ground or a paradise. It's a nightmare masquerading as life. But it doesn't have to be this way. You have the power to wake up, see through the illusion, and break free. The choice is yours. The earth is not a testing ground. It is not a preparatory stage for something better. This is not a playground, and it is certainly not a paradise. What we are living in every single day is a nightmare masquerading as life. But it doesn't have to be this way. Wake up. See through the illusion. Break free from the chains that bind you. The choice is yours. What will you do?